Bring the meeting to order at 6:01. I will, this is the Budget Subcommittee meeting, the first meeting of the year. We're going to be focusing on rural school aid funding. I will read the blurb that we read before all the meetings to make sure that everybody understands that this meeting is being recorded. Consistent with the governor's language and the removal of the emergency order, the public is invited to attend school committee meetings, all school committee meetings, in person or in real time via Zoom technology by clicking on the link below. There is a link that is on the Quabbin website that you can click on and attend the meeting virtually. This meeting will be recorded and will be posted to YouTube and other social media platforms. By participating in this meeting, you understand that the recording could contain your video stream or your audio stream, including images of yourself or anyone in the room with you. If you choose to enable your video or audio device during the meeting, as well as anything or anyone else that may be in the background, could be recorded. The recording could include any opinions you contribute and anything you say about yourself. On occasion, chat within the meeting could also be captured in the meeting recording. Therefore, anyone attending the recorded meeting may have aspects of their personal data recorded if they actively participate or not. We will call the meeting to order and take attendance. Do you want to take attendance or?
Sure. Peggy Johnson. Here.
Jen Chamberlain.
Here.
Mark Wiggler.
Here, and Walter Nutters
Nutters.
unable to attend the meeting tonight. He's at another meeting related to the town of Ocam. And he said he couldn't. The reason for the meeting is really to discuss the utilization of some rural school aid funding that we received notice of probably about a month ago. The preliminary figures were a little over $1 million. And our concern is we received this kind of late, and there are some issues related to making sure that the money and the resources get utilized by the end of the school year, which gives us a little bit of a tight time frame to do it. We're here tonight to discuss some possible uses of the resources to better move Quabbin forward. And hopefully we can come up with that tonight. I'm going to turn this over to Colleen.
Cheryl has created it, so we'll share together.
Fantastic.
Anybody else online?
No, there's not.
Okay. So what we decided we should probably start with is, before we look at just how are we going to use this year's rural school aid money, is to just take a review of what we've done with pandemic funding throughout the course of the last few years, and then discuss how we're going to fill the gap when ESSER 3 ends. So you three especially have seen this in the past, okay? But so I just pulled this up. I was showing this all throughout the pandemic years, showing where we were using our money from. So if you remember, we were closed down March 20th of 2020. I think that was the day. And they had already put out the remote learning technology grant, which we used to buy Chromebooks and Verizon hotspots for both families and staff who did not have good internet connection so that they could do teaching and learning. Then ESSER came out. At that point, it was only known as ESSER. Now we refer to it as ESSER 1. But ESSER 1 came out. We used it to purchase air sanitizing machines and mist, personal protective equipment, which we all know was PPP at the time, and signage, keeping kids 6 feet apart, and so on. Now you see that grant, it was issued in March of 2020, and it went through June of 2021. Then the coronavirus protection grant came out in 2020-21, which is the fiscal 21 year, which we came back to school. Remember, lots of people did not go back to school right away. We came back to school with a little 10-day delay. Again, more PPE, cleaning supplies. And at that point, we added some temporary custodial staff and CNAs. Remember, we had to have those rooms where all kids would go to when they were sick, and we added CNA staff. Then came out the coronavirus relief fund. Came out at the same time for the opening of school in 2021. We added days to non-full year staff. We needed to have our principals who are not on full year calendars coming back and working with the administration at the time to get ready for kids to come back. We spent it on some hardware and software for teachers and paras. Again, PPE, masks, sanitizer, all that kind of stuff. Again, we still had on the custodial staff and CNA staff. We had some unexpected unemployment costs, people that wouldn't come back to school and they decided that they were going to resign. And then meal sealing equipment. Remember, we were handing out meals for weeks at a time to the public. So then we're kind of like back in school for fiscal 22, and ESSER 2 came out, 719,000. We used that. We sat down and said, okay, this was supposed to be for teaching and learning. How are you going to get kids back in school? Well, we had already been back in school for a whole year. Some schools did not come back to school until April of 2021, remember. They didn't come back when they were forced by the commission to come back in April. We had already been here since September. So we looked at pre-K expansion. We put pre-K in all of our schools, full-time in Hardwick. We added a middle school reading program. Remember, the 6th grade came up during COVID so that we could have space in our elementary schools to spread out. We found out that our kids were lacking in the reading areas, so we put in a reading program. We put in technology integration specialists to help bring that technology that was used online, teaching kids to be more in the classroom. We added an elementary social worker. We only had one social worker that was across the district. Now, when that pandemic hit and people were dying and, oh my God, kids needed support. We added a second BCBA. That, again, was at the elementary level. We added some behavioral support interventionists, more PPE. We're back in school, cleaning supplies, signage, and air filters to filter the air. Now, all along when we started getting this ESSER money, Sheila and I, we were planning on how we were going to use it in years to come. We knew it was going to end at some point. Then they came out with ESSER 3. ESSER 3, we just maintained the programs that we put in with ESSER 2. And right now, we are in our 3rd year, basically, of using that ESSER money for the programming and positions that we put into place for the school year fiscal 22.
I just want to jump in and add that at that point, so the use of ESSER, and I think Cheryl has the definition on the next page, but it was, also to accelerate learning, right? And to make sure that we're maintaining the social, emotional, and mental health of students and staff, coming out of the pandemic. So I think that Quabbin was really wise in how they spent the money. And we've been able to sort of track that progress along the way.
Yeah, I did go in this weekend and grab what ESSER 3 was supposed to be used for. And you'll see it says to support the safe reopening and sustaining self-operations in schools. Well, we had done that with our ESSER 2 money. We had enough PPE and whatever to get us through. And so we were really focusing more on the academic, social, emotional, and mental health needs of kids when they came back to school and after everything was going on. So we didn't use ESSER 3 until the beginning of fiscal 23. Now, what happened when we got that funding, because it came in play, and if you remember, if you go back a slide, it came in play at 7/1/2022. The state actually took some money for us right away because it was at the end of that fiscal year for mass teachers' retirement. They grabbed their retirement money right off of top of those grants. So we had to work with that. But how we used ESSER 3 beginning in fiscal 23 was, again, these are all of the programs that we put in with all that money, and they're still in place today, including last year, at the end of the school year, we added summer school programming, credit recovery, and a STEM camp with this money. So
Did we get rid of anything?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. So far, this is.
PPE.
So, yeah, PPE and
Yeah,
cleaning.
but we
Oh,
stockpiled,
actually,
right?
well, yeah, but we did, we got rid of the extra
Yeah.
custodial staff.
Okay.
Temporary custodial staff was gone, and the CNAs, we kept 1 or 2 out of the 5 or 6 that we had. So we still have 2 positions, only 1 right now because someone's on a leave of absence. So we did downsize on the CNAs and cut those extra custodians off. They've been gone for 2 years now.
Kevin did say we have umpteen gallons of hand sanitizer. Like they don't know how to get rid of it.
Yes, we do. Well, we got a lot of free stuff that, just like.
And you gotta take it, yeah.
Right, you gotta take, and then COVID tests, they got so many COVID tests and then they all expired, and then all of a sudden they look, the expiration date's moved out of here, So, yeah, we got a lot of things that we didn't really ask for, but showed up, yes, from the state. So this is like the accounting of where the money has gone since the beginning of ESSER 3. There's that mass teachers retirement that they took right off the top before they sent us our first payment. And then we had FY23 salaries. So FY24 salaries, you'll see there's quite a big increase in there. Well, there's a reason for that. It's twofold, actually. We had two positions when we put in the new programs. We had two positions we added. Two people left. One really early on, I think in October.
Yeah.
We could not find anybody to fill that elementary social worker position that was empty for the rest of the year. And then there was another position that left, I think it was a pre-K teacher. And then remember FY24 was the new contract year. This is a new contract year, so all salaries went up significantly. The mass teachers that are due on those salaries, we did have a few needs in the health offices, and we figured the money is there for those types of things. Let's use it for that this year, so we did that. And there's the summer school transportation that we did at the end of last year. For the beginning of this year, it was July, so it was end of June or something. We paid it in July, though. So this is where we are right now today. Is $102,000. What our plan was for the rest of that is continue that summer school, and Colleen decided that right away when she saw how effective our summer school programs were last year. She said, we need to save some ESSER 3 money to do that at the end of the school year too. So we are planning on doing a credit recovery course again this summer for kids, put them back on track. The transportation for that is huge. It costs more than the program does, which might even cost us more because we've got to go out to bid. I just finished writing the transportation bid today.
Do you have to provide transportation?
If we don't, they're not coming. It's summer school. If we don't get them here, they're not coming, right, Becky?
It made a huge difference in our enrollment compared to other times we've done summer programs and have not provided transportation.
And these are kids that aren't driving yet. These are mostly middle school kids. So, and then we did STEM camp as well. So we have right now, we think we're going to have about 13.8 left, but I'm sure that will be eaten up by transportation or expanding the program even more. I think, did you turn a few people away from last summer? So we may add another section or whatever. So that's where we are. I think we can say with confidence that we didn't squander our pandemic funding from day one. We did not do that. So I feel good about what we've done with that money. So here's our problem that we have right now is we have about $880,000 of salaries that are posted to ESSER 3. And I just remind you that those are the social worker, the pre-K program in every building, the middle school reading program, which still has a long way to go, the tutors that go with that program, and the social and emotional staffing that we have. So that's, am I going the wrong way?
Which we still have a huge need for.
Yes.
Yes, we feel we do at this point. So staff has been collecting data and evaluating the effectiveness and outcomes of each one of the programs that we have added during this time to address the obstacles of student learning and achievement. Determine what the value of each program is and help us decide whether the program should continue at least for the next school year, or have they provided sufficient results that they are no longer needed. So we've been starting to go through all of these programs and talking to the staff. So our problem right now is how are we going to fund programs that we believe we need to continue when we won't have any additional federal or state aid. We will not be getting Chapter 78. We have less resident students this year than we did last year. So.
And ESSER's ending.
ESSER's done. ESSER's done. Go back to my graph. 9/30/24. That's when you have to have it all spent by. It's not like the ARPA money of the towns that you have to have it committed by, and they even
Extended like 2 years, right?
They extended. We did not get extended, and we have to have it spent by that date. So we plan on getting it spent with the summer school programs that we're going to put into place. So that's what we're doing now. And we when we first got the first ESSER grant, and we figured out, I think it was that year that we had an uptick in resident enrollment. We thought, oh, we're going to be pulling out of hold harmless. When SOA kicks in for year 2, and we get more money for every low-income kid and more money for every English learner student, we're going to get out of hold harmless because we got like $1.2 million that year. Oh, no, well, that was 1 year only. Last year, we didn't get, this year, we didn't get any more money. Next year, we're not getting any more money. We're going to be in hold harmless longer than we thought. I took a ride on, were you here that day? You weren't here that day. The ride through Ocam, when we saw all those gigantic houses on that road, and I'm like, wow, where are all the kids live in these houses? Because Ocam's enrollment went down, but there are some big houses in Ocam, Mark. You ever drive through there? Gigantic.
Did you come like by Reeds? Yeah.
No, well, no, yeah, we
Cross over
did.
by Reeds?
We crossed from New Braintree into Ocam. We left you in New Braintree, remember? So we.
Yeah, I know, but did you come?
Oh, yeah, across from Reeds,
Yeah, we
yeah.
went, but then we took Scott Road instead of going New
Ocam
Braintree
to
Road.
Scott?
To
Yeah.
Scott, instead of going New Braintree Road.
Gotcha.
And those houses down there are gigantic. And then Kevin took me home back this way, a different way, and I can't believe the big houses that are up in Ocam now. I used to
Well,
live in
our
Ocam.
tax
but
rate
it
just went up,
wasn't
what, 270 a quarter?
even-
But our tax rate went down.
Oh, so stop sharing.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So where are we with rural school aid? So we put the definition of what we were supposed to use ESSER for. We did the same thing with rural school aid. It is to support district operations with priority given to efforts to increase regional collaboration. I think we've beaten that horse till it's dead. Nobody wants to work with us. We've been talking about it for 10 years. Consolidation, we've been looking at doing that for how many years? 6 or 7 years. Or other strategies to improve long-term operational efficiency and effectiveness. That's what the aid is for.
So rural school aid and ESSER are two different funds. Okay.
Yes. ESSER is, due to the pandemic, every school district got ESSER.
Gotcha.
Rural school aid, you have to meet that parameter that was set for it based on number of people who live per square mile in a community.
Okay.
And we are in the second block, so we're not as rural as everybody else, but we're number one on the second group of those
Gotcha.
districts.
ESSER came from the feds, didn't it?
Yes.
And this came.
This is
from us,
state.
yeah.
This is state money. ESSER is federal money.
Now, with what they're saying in the news about having to cut funds and all of that.
That came out today.
Yeah, I was watching it. Is that going to affect some of these?
We got a list. I couldn't read it. It was too darn
Okay.
small, but
Okay.
Julie Kelly followed up with an email. So Chapter 70 is not being cut at this point. Regional transportation is not being cut, and rural school aid to this year is not being cut. But there are a lot of grants that were promised that are going to be gone from us. Yeah. So we just saw what was in education. And it's more than 2 full pages. So education things like that. So since the inception of rural school aid, our district has used it for capital repairs or asset purchases, most of which would have been classified as capital costs and assessed to our member towns. So I've got the little graphic here that I had before, but updated it this weekend. So our first one was in FY19. We got $119,000, and we used it to integrate our telephone system across all of our schools other than New Braintree. New Braintree wasn't done at that time because we just had put in a new telephone system in there. So everybody got updated telephones, and they're all run through the internet. So when the internet goes down, we don't have telephones. It's wonderful. That's where that went. And we did an engineering study. I think most of you will know because you were all here. We did the engineering study. We had a company come out and do an engineering study of all of our roofs. And they also found out the windows in Hardwick were no good, but they were done on the middle high school, Hardwick. I want to say Ruggles Lane too, but right after Ruggles Lane roof got done, New Braintree and Hardwick, because Oakham's roof had just been put on before then. In 2020, and they expanded the use of that money over 2 fiscal years. So we put that, we batched together, our district batched together FY20's rural aid that went for FY20 and 21 with 21's rural school aid of $212,000. And this is like, we're right in the middle of the pandemic now. So we used it for some air cleaners, more than we had out of ESSER. We chose to do, remember the middle high school fire panel project had to be done? And the middle high school cooling tower needed replacement. That's what that money went for. FY22, we got $261,000, and we used it to replace the camera system at the middle high school. That's been a godsend. That camera is fantastic.
Saw it on our tours in the first.
On your tours, right? And then we can open the door here from our offices now. We always had to run to the door. We can see who's there, ask them questions. Except I don't know how to use it, so I had to go run to the door, let Mark in. I do not know how to use it. FY23's ruling for last school year, we hired a security consultant for the elementary schools. Sheila had written and we got a grant to do security at the high school. That's like a big thing right now in schools, all the security and everything. So we used some of that to expand that project to do the elementary schools. And we're still working with our internal group on school security and safety now. We chose to buy four transit vans. Mr. Walter Nutter, he was really on this, remember, a whole year earlier. Why don't we buy vans? Why don't we buy vans? And then he goes, you're buying vans now. Well, I'll let Colleen talk to how much they're used because she knows.
Yeah, our vans are used on a daily basis. For our post-grad programs, any of our clubs and activities that are doing field trips or going out, our hiking club goes out frequently. Our NHS kids went and did holiday shopping for families in needs. So on a daily basis, they're all being utilized. Our sports programs, the one that is utilized the least is the one wheelchair van, but we also hold that for our post-grad kids. So we do feel we have a need for an additional van, at least one.
So what that has helped us do is cut down on paying transportation providers. The postgrads all go out to work sites. One day a week, they all go to their individual work sites. And then there's another day where they all go together. I think it's to a restaurant in Sturbridge. So we have our own drivers or our staff. And so they're driving and we're not paying $400 or $500 to the transportation providers for each trip. It's really good for our small athletic teams, the tennis team, a little small team, because we don't have to call the bus company and get a bus. So that's been very helpful. We also needed we traded in our pickup in the buildings and grounds department and got that. And we replaced one of the mowers that we had. It's amazing when you have a turnover in staff and somebody like really knows the job, because Kevin came here and said, we're using the wrong lawnmowers. Like if our lawnmower, when the guys are going around the front of the high school and they tip over on that, we're in deep trouble. We're not going to get that covered by insurance because that's the wrong machine for that grade on these fields. So we got rid of that one there that was in disrepair and we got a 0-turn mower, and that's where that money went for last year. And here we are this year with the $1,042. Mr. Wiggle was like saying, that's why I'm here tonight, so let's get going. So we have looked at the current furniture, equipment, and flooring needs in our, did I skip a space?
I feel like you did.
No,
Where's the,
okay.
the financial cliff, where's that one?
It's at the next one.
Okay, got it.
So we took a look the other day with the plant facilities committee. As we went around, we identified some areas that really need to be looked at. A lot of these things that are on in the middle high school have been projects that have been there over the last 3 to 5 years, and they've been cut. The middle school gym, we've been talking about that forever. But we have some floors at the middle high school that really need to be fixed. One thing that we talked about when we were walking around, and I think you two ladies would remember this, is that the exhaust fans that could help in the middle school halls.
Yes,
because
we definitely need those.
Yeah, so there's no airflow through there. So when we actually got the air cleaners, it really helped the airflow in those hallways. Otherwise, the temperature in there in September and then in the beginning of the hotter months in the spring, there's no airflow in those hallways at all. And that's very, very difficult. So Kevin had put this in for this school year in the capital equipment, but it was cut the first round of budget. The overlay the roof seams, we do that every year. The media center carpet was also in the budget for this current year, and that was cut. We looked at the floor, that zero floor, that's what they refer to it as. It's the floor by the gyms that goes from the gyms to the cafeteria. We saw the disrepair. That's it. I walk that all the time. You wouldn't know unless you looked down and actually looked at it. And so that's what the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee did. You looked at the floor, right? And you saw the disrepair that it was in. Of course, we have across, you'll see on all of these schools, we have a need for new desk chairs, desks, tables. They're just like cafeteria tables at the middle high school. Pete Coppolino will tell you, I just can't weld them anymore. We haven't bought a lot of furniture except for at the middle high school, because we did do a wing at the middle high school a few years. Maureen was still here, so that was actually what, six years ago. But other than that, we haven't been doing this. And each one of the principals has classroom chairs, desks, or tables on their list of things to do. We also looked at the parking lot and the driveway at the middle high school. That's a project, the NAs means we have no idea what these costs of these projects may be, but the parking lot and the driveway, which most likely would be done, I think, in parts because the project would be outrageous. The Panther gym roof repair, I guess they were just up there checking that out today, and I had not heard of this before, but I guess there's holes in that round roof that goes over the gym. And what they found was water is actually coming down through all the layers, and it was coming out where they were repairing a gutter system on one side that we did internally rather than having to pay somebody $12,000 to do. But they saw the water just coming right out between the layers of the roof. So that has to be investigated. I guess you start with a infrared
Right.
rating of that to see where it's coming from. The engineering study for the press box, which this is my homework so far. I've got this research done on it, but I still haven't got that bid done. And then the actual, what we're going to do with the press box in the stadium based on what an engineer will say we'll do.
Can I jump in for 1 second? Sure. The other thing we want to think about when we start thinking about or proposing to you how we want to spend the rural school aid money is just remember, if we choose to do projects, they need to be complete by June.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I'm thinking. Some of those, just getting estimates and getting
Yeah.
through this by June won't happen.
right.
It's not.
So, but it sets us up for the following year if we can do some of the, pre-work this year.
Yeah.
But
So then the elementary schools, you'll see it's consistent chairs, tables, desks, or rug replacement, floor replacements throughout. The district equipment, I'm not really sure what a UTV is.
it's a multi-purpose vehicle. They call them like a mule, but they have one up here that they use for everything. So if they need to go out to the back fields to work on lights or any of those other things, you'll see them zipping around here in it all the time. And Kevin reported that there, and I won't get the terminology right, but basically there's some rot and rust happening. Its life is not.
On the frame.
On the frame,
That's what
yeah.
my notes say.
Yeah.
That seems like a high price, but
Yes, well, everything's over cost right now, right? These are prices that Kevin gave me.
I'm assuming, Peggy, maybe that's a new one, not a used one.
no, we just bought one.
Oh,
Yeah, I was saying this,
Yeah.
that's high.
What did you buy it for?
I bought a John Deere and I think we paid 10.
Really?
I don't have double seats, but I have a dump body and four-wheel drive.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to ask him that then. I thought he was going to be here tonight, I'm sorry. He would want to turn in the other mower that really isn't built for our hills that we have in our fields, to get another zero-turn mower.
And that seems high.
That's based on that's based on the
last one.
last one.
Yeah, well,
And the Ford Transit van, if we were to expand our fleet of vehicles. We also have a need with our bucket truck. What Kevin reported at the cabinet meeting last week is the bucket truck will not be recertified for use by the state without having $7,000 worth of repairs done to it. So he thought he would start looking for a used bucket truck, which they use to do all of the lights and tree, everything that we need to do high. So that's some of the things that we will be looking for as we come forward with our budget. This is what the superintendent and I came up with as a recommended step. First, when we first heard that we were getting $1 million, which Sheila promised before she left, and I said, I'm not going to agree to believe it until we see the number, and it came, the $1 million came. But we didn't find out until late November. I think it was early November, early November we found out. And so I reached out to Julie Kelly, who's our liaison at Mars. I said, how are you supposed to use this money when you get it in October, right? And she said, post off expenses to it, Cheryl, which will boost up your E&D, which you can use in future years. I said, I can't do that. I'm already, 4%, and I don't want to get any higher than that. Because then after 5%, you got to give it back to the towns anyway. But what we can do, and what we're thinking of doing, hoping to do, is take the value of half of the charges that are going to ESSER 3 right now. We have $800,000 worth of salaries, $880,000. It's not half of 880 because we're already looking at making some cuts in those programs. Take half of that value, post off expenses that are salaries to school choice to rural school aid. And what does that do for us? It increases our reserves in school choice that we can use for future years, which if we use it for the salaries in those programs, if we're to keep them on, we'll use that school choice money. That frees up some money that we can put in reserve. And then we would take the additional 400,000 or whatever of much it will cost to keep the programs that we want to keep out of school choice as well, because I'll remind you that we've been planning since the first ESSER grant of how we were going to fill this hole, and we've been saving school choice money. Last year, we had an increase in school choice. We got $159,000 more in school choice revenue than the year before, and that stayed in reserves. We didn't use it. And this year, we have 20, on October 1, we had 20 more FTE in school choice kids in our district, 20 more kids.
That's great.
Now, school choice does get adjusted every month based on kids leaving and coming, because you actually get the actual money for the actual number of days the school choice kid is here. It's not like they're on October 1 and I get chapter 70 for that kid because it's a Barry kid, and then they move out of town. I still get that money for that Barry kid. School choice, if my kid came here on school choice and left in October, I only get him for the number of days he was in the seat. So, but as I'm on October 1, what numbers? We had 20 more kids at $5,000 a kid's 100 grand. So we've got some money left in school choice. And that was our plan from the beginning. Beef up school choice over the next 3 years so that we can continue on when this ESSER money leaves. That was Sheila and I plan. I go back and prove it. So what we hope to do is choose some of those capital projects as well as making that transfer. But choose the projects that, as Mark pointed out, that we can get done, and that will help us with our efficiencies.
So we reclassified the 400,000, so now we're down to roughly 600,000.
Where?
In rural school.
Rural school.
Yeah. Yeah. So I also asked Julie Kelly in an email, I said, because I would think some schools that are in declining enrollment as we are, you're not getting any more chapter 70, but your costs aren't going down. So you have to count on rural school aid to help your budget work. So I said, how can you build a budget using rural school aid as a funding source when you don't know how much you're going to get until the budget is passed through the Senate and the House and voted on, and you can't expend money until you get it. So if you have a bunch of
And it
salaries.
has to be spent by June 30th.
And it has to be spent by June 30th. But if you don't get it you don't get your allocation until November, 1st of November, you can't charge anything to it until you're given that money. You're like, okay, your amount is $1,042,000. You know about it on November 2nd. I can't charge salaries there for 2 months of school. So it's very hard. And I read Colleen, the email that Julie sent back to me, and she goes, sorry, this doesn't help. So it's very hard to take operating, build it into your budget, say, okay, here's our budget. We're going to use $1 million in rural school aid, take that off of to go to assessments to towns. And this is what we're going to assess towns. And then all of a sudden it's no longer $1 million. Remember, it was 200,000, 200,000, 200,000, 300,000, $1 million. It could very easily go back because it's subject to appropriation. You saw that
Especially if the state.
the 9 seat cuts came out already.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed to be there. So it's very hard to build it in as a funding source for your operating
Yeah,
budget.
you can't count on it.
You can't count on it, right. So even though, I remember when we were walking around the first time going around the schools with Lee, and he goes, I know you don't want to use capital project, but these exhaust fans really need to go in. I said, I never said I didn't want to do that. I say the more and more we do that, the more and more comfortable the select boards and finance committees become that we're going to pick up these projects and we're going to.
I mean, do we notify them? Do they even know all of the projects we've done?
The only way that I know how to do is, I report on it enough, right? And I report on it all kinds of budget meetings, that we're doing this and we're doing this, we're doing
I
this.
did
But-
tell you parking was an issue, so.
Huh?
I did tell you parking was an issue tonight. We don't have a big attendance, so I don't know how much our word gets out.
Oh, I know. I know. Well,
I know, we can only do what we can do.
And we have a public hearing.
Yep.
We don't get anybody to come to the public hearing. Nobody comes to ask any questions about our budget, but we get beat up on the town floor.
And
So,
What always makes me nervous, and I've spoken to you about, is using grants and monies to pay salaries. I hear what you're saying, that you manipulate money so that, you'll be able to pay it. I just get nervous about that, because then how do we pay them if we can't put them in the budget?
but grants
You know.
are, grants, when you write a grant, that's what it's for, to implement a new program. Because you can't take a program that you currently have and charge it to the grant, a new grant.
No, I understand
Right,
that.
but
But
that's
sometimes
what-
the grants end, right?
Well, yeah, and they always
And
get
then you go,
changed.
oh,
Yeah.
gotta let you go.
Yeah, we have our whole intervention program, all of our intervention specialists.
Yeah, well, but this is, and so what we're proposing actually alleviates that fear for us. Because we know we'll be able to maintain those programs at least for the next year. There are some that you will hear down the road that we're gonna say, nope, we feel confident, we don't need this anymore. However, and some we feel confident, we 100% cannot lose these positions. And others, give us a year to look a little more at it more carefully. So this is a really consistent and thoughtful approach that will actually help us. And if we didn't have the rural school aid or the work that Cheryl and Sheila have done with school choice, it would have to go into our operating budget, and then it would have to go to the towns, right? And we know, I think what we need to get across to the towns is all of these actions that we're taking are actually supporting them, right? It reduces their assessment impact, as Cheryl has up there.
I
And
hope the towns see those charts. I mean, it's clear as day. Those are simple. They're very well done for anyone to look at and understand where that money was spent. So I hope that we can share those with the towns.
I mean, my experience has
Future
been that,
presentations, just keep.
yeah, memory is short,
Yeah.
right? They remember it in the
Sure, sure.
moment, and then a few years later, they're
Yep,
still
yep.
worried because the costs go up. So
Can I get a copy of this thing that you've
It's in
shown
the
us?
drive.
I don't use the drive.
we can print some up
Thank
for
you.
you. We'll print some for,
I'll call
I'll have
Jess.
Jess print some for Thursday.
Dr.
So I'd rather hand it to Joe and those guys and say, take your time and look at this. But some of them do. I think
We have
Dennis
the
and those guys
recording,
are
so
starting.
tonight is being recorded, so we will post that and they could also watch
Yeah,
the recording.
Yeah.
So a couple of things that Colleen and I have done too is we attended a MASC webinar the other day. We found it totally useless because but one of the things they said when you're building, and I have a one sheet piece of paper that's on my desk, but I didn't bring it. When you're trying to get your FY25 budget out to the public, talk about what you did with all of this money. And that's kind of like why we put this together this way. Talk about how you spent that money and why now you have to reassess of what you're going to do. And make it very clear. So that's what I tried to do here, is make it very clear. But I also used what I've used all along. So if somebody were to pull up a budget meeting from 3 years ago, you're going to see the same exact chart because that's what we use.
Sure.
To communicate to our school committee. Another thing that we got was this presentation that was made to MASBO. And this was shocking when I saw it, and I sent it to Colleen. I made it nice and big for her too. But it doesn't have everybody, but it's talking about what are you going to do when you hit the financial cliff. Okay, so it says right here, projected state increases are enough to offset the cliff in most districts. Well, and this was done by somebody.
Most.
And this was done by
Wellesley?
somebody at Georgetown University. Well, not if you're a declining enrollment district, because we're not getting any more money.
Most in maybe 1 year.
Yep. So it also states that math students are not back on track academically. We know that.
So I think that's one of the big messages, right, is that the work that we are trying to do, we are impacted by learning losses. And so it was great that they gave us this money, but to think that we could shore that up in really what was the equivalent of 2 years, because we had so much PPE and other needs, was just not realistic.
This report says that Massachusetts school districts have spent ESSER more slowly than the national average. Know why? Anybody know why? Come on, I've taught you well. High poverty districts tend to have deeper cliffs. It says that in one place, and then it says something totally different in another. Statewide enrollment is down 4%, it says. It says Massachusetts' highest poverty districts are spending ESSER 3 at a slower rate than other Massachusetts districts, which goes completely against what you just said. And why is that? Come on, I teach you well. Why is that? It's because the low-income districts in Massachusetts got big dollars in Chapter 70 for EL and low income, right? So
They didn't need it.
So Springfield
Thinking, oh, this is candy, we can.
it's exactly what it is. Here's a chart of how much some districts that have less than 10% of their ESSER 3 is spent, less than 10%.
Wow.
Brewster still has $603,000 left. Mashpee has $1.3 million still left at this time. I have $13,000. Nauset, 1.3 million. Oak Bluffs, 1.5 million. Pioneer Valley, which is right up the street, $500,000. Tisbury, $500,000. Because they got money in Chapter 70. Remember I told you?
Those towns you just mentioned.
Are at the Cape.
Yeah, they're not,
In the
Yeah, there's another one
Really?
for the urban.
They don't say poverty.
But they've spent 0 to 10% of their ESSER funds. Only 2 districts spent 10%. The rest all spent
Here's
0.
Worcester. Worcester got $122 million in ESSER 3. They still have $62.8 million left.
they have to spend it by September.
September.
How are they gonna do that?
They're not going to, because I told you at the beginning of the last fiscal,
We're
don't I
gonna
go crazy?
regionalize with them and we're gonna.
Yeah. Remember my charts where I brought, and where did all the money go? Worcester was there. Springfield was there. New Bedford was there. They got all that money in Chapter 78, plus they got the high ESSER 3 money. You can't spend it. You can't spend it all. And that's what this is trying to say. But where are we?
So will they take it back?
Yeah, they should take it back and give it to us. They should give it to
yeah.
the districts that have used it
Use their
all
money and they're
and are
wisely.
getting, and then get a no Chapter 70. You may be getting no Chapter 70, but our
But
crops are
will
not
the
going
state
down.
take that money
I have no
back?
idea I have no idea what they will do with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, a deadline's a deadline. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna extend it.
I was just gonna say, they'll probably extend it,
And so us that,
and then we'll just have.
Only have 13.
Follow the rules.
yeah, the ones that follow the rules, that's it. Well, good for you. Good job you do that. I don't know what a lot of this was. I wasn't at the meeting, but I just found the PowerPoint. So that's where we are, not in a good place, that's for sure. We thought for sure, 3 years ago, Sheila and I thought for sure we would be out of hold harmless debt by now. 1 year we had an increase. I forget where we're down. We're down substantially, so we're not going to get any more money. I don't think there's anything else we wanted to point out in this one here, did we?
No, I don't think so.
No, but that was pretty astounding that Worcester has more than half of their ESSER 3 money left,
amazing.
and they have 6 months to go. But they have so much money, you can't spend it. Or you can't find people that take jobs, because we're still in that boat. We still have positions that are open because we don't have any applicants. I suppose if you take us and then divide, multiply our district to get to Worcester's size, I'm sure they have some positions that they have unfilled, but not.
But even still, using it all in positions, what are they gonna do once they spend all that money?
They're still going to get tons of Chapter 70. Wait till, I heard it's going to be released January 19th. January 19th, the governor's budget should be out. And I'll put the list of where all the money's going again. And we're going to be way down the bottom.
So next Friday.
That's what I heard, yeah. So,
So that's our proposal. We feel like.
Do you have projects in mind that you?
well, actually, we did a little math and we can actually do all the ones we know what the costs are and still have money left.
The first
But
thing
I don't
we would
know,
wanna
I don't
do
know
is
if we need to
the
do
air
other,
control.
try to get other projects, faster. I don't know. Will we be able to find a bucket truck? I don't know if we'll be able to find one that's worth the money. You know what I mean?
We also have some technology needs. Andrew has some technology needs and some safety needs. So we have, backups, but we felt like to be consistent and fair, that this would reduce town assessments and spending, and it's spread across all of the district.
Andrew did bring me the numbers, and if I don't remember exactly, but it's like $110,000. Remember, we didn't have to do our refresh cycle because we got that in with a grant. We got all the Chromebooks, but now we cut all the technology out of this year's budget because we didn't need that. But now we have a refresh coming up.
Yep.
And so I think he gave me the numbers today. I think there was a close to $110,000 for our Chromebook refresh. So that's another one that could be added.
Braintree need anything, floors or?
Nope, they were in great shape when we visited New Braintree.
Okay, so we take the 400,000 that we're placing school choice with, right? And then we've got 600,000, no, we don't have 600,000 in projects there, right?
So, I can now share that screen. So in calling just before I stopped for dinner, we took the 100 and, let's see if I can make this bigger for people. So there's the 1,042,000, and if we take the reclass of the salaries and a majority of all of the projects up here that we had costs for, we still have $118,000 left. And again, with Peggy saying, well, that shouldn't really cost you that much, we might even have more. A couple of those things, but Kevin did say he had quotes on those, so I don't know why they're so.
And we
How
felt like
big he
we
goes
could,
in.
I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no.
And the different attachments.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, we felt like we could get these projects complete by the end of June.
Yeah.
And he also said that like the other machine we had some brush on it today that he did all the sidewalks with. He said, oh my God, that was the first time I got to use it, the snow. He said it's unbelievable the job they did on all the sidewalks. We didn't have to worry about people falling. It's great. So we got what we need. We become more efficient.
We wouldn't leave the 118 on the table, right?
No.
We
Oh,
would-
gosh,
we would find.
No.
I mean, when we're going through these projects, I'm sure that a few might cost a little more
Might cost a little less. yeah.
and some might cost.
Have I ever left money on the table?
And
Have I ever left money on the
backup
table?
with technology and safety needs as well. We may even, as we're going through this, we might say we're gonna do the technology.
Yeah, that might do
instead
is
of something
technology.
else.
Oh, yeah.
That might
exactly.
take care of this
Yep.
technology thing and still have it'll be close.
Yeah.
One of the questions I remember being asked at my interview to come here 23 years ago. What happens when you have more than 5% in E&D? You got to give it back to the towns. You give it back to the towns, you never give money back to the towns. Spend every dime. You hear the auditor. You do a good job in spending the budget that's given to us. So,
We really do make every dollar count and stretch it as far as we possibly can. Yeah.
But we are.
But like you said, I mean, these are expenses that would be put to the towns and they can't absorb our budget now, never mind these capital expenses. And, we're the stewards of their buildings and we're just taking care of them as we should.
What's your tax rate in Hubbardston?
Oh, it just came out 11.
1149.
Oh.
Mine is over.
Yeah, but you know what?
Mine is over.
It's assessed so much that my taxes.
So is mine. So did mine.
The revale?
But mine.
That's because
Yeah.
you built it too recently.
But our,
Almost 30 years ago.
Too recently.
our tax,
The people who were there 40 years ago still have these, in Hubbardston, still have these bizarre assessments.
Assessments, really?
Yeah, it's, when I first moved in, I couldn't believe it. I had a house.
my taxes went up by $1,000 last year in the second half. $1,000. Something must be wrong. Something must be wrong. It went up by $1,000. It went up another $800 for this quarter, this half. My tax rate's over $14. Over 14, Petersham, 14. You're 11.
Now, see, our tax rate went down, but our reval made our taxes go
Right,
up.
that's where we are.
Yeah.
Our tax rate went up, but it didn't, for me, it didn't go up that much. Well, I guess, I can pay it, I guess, I don't complain, right? But other people who were really concerned about like just increases of like 100 and $125 a quarter, it's a major issue.
Yeah, ours was over 250.
I mean, it's just, it's a big issue.
It's sad because then, you know, you hear the selectmen speak about now people want to move, you know?
Where are they moving to?
I don't know.
Alabama?
That, I know.
Have fun.
You'd have to move out of state.
Of course you would.
You couldn't.
But where are you gonna go, Alabama?
Yeah.
Because that's, I mean,
I was telling Cheryl that last week on Channel 5, they were saying that Massachusetts was one of the top states to have people move out of Massachusetts. I think it was third in the nation, right?
Yeah, really.
And 65% of people are moving to Vermont.
Yeah. And from Connecticut too, they're moving to.
Yeah, yeah.
In someplace else, a lot of people, Vermont's gonna be, they'll love that, right?
Maybe they're
nephew just-
building those small houses or something, I don't know.
my nephew just bought a house in Connecticut. Couldn't find anything he could afford
Oh,
here. One went to
Connecticut's
Connecticut,
crazy.
they both moved out this weekend. One moved to Connecticut, one moved to Hubbardston. On Dogwood South.
We're still having a few people move in, not a ton of new building, at least that I'm not aware of,
No,
but you know.
we
It's like
we seem to have a lot of new residents though. But I
Yeah.
don't know how long they're staying. Like, there was a house on my street that sold 2 years ago. It just sold again. Seems like more of a turnover.
Yeah, when they feel they can flip it for an extra 100,000, they do it.
Or once they move out this far, they think, no, I want to be closer to,
Well,
you know.
they don't like the lack of conveniences and losing power and,
Well, I mean, I can
you
just
know,
ask her.
things like we
Yeah.
have here. People aren't used to that.
I see Shelley's online, so I just want to see if she has any questions for us. Hi, Shelley.
Hi. I don't have any questions. I apologize. I did step away for a second. Just because I had to eat dinner and I was listening, but I was just eating this, so I apologize.
That's okay. We just wanted to make sure, seeing you were sitting through the presentation, if you had anything, we gave you the opportunity to ask.
Are things like, oh, sorry. Are things like the gym floors, refinishing, are they on a rotation?
Well,
Or-
middle school definitely hasn't been, because I think it's been like 8 years since we
Right.
put it on the budget to.
Well, I see you're doing the dance floor room,
and I'm
but
not-
that was on there.
And do you know why? I don't remember him saying why the.
That was.
Is that where they exercise
That
it?
was a big
Yeah, that-
expense.
that is
I wonder
one
if
of
that
their
was
areas.
a replacement.
What was?
Was it a replacement or a refinish?
It was high at $72,000, which I
$72,000
thought was
for that.
high as
I
well.
didn't, thank you for.
That's a dance floor, 72, and the middle school
Yeah.
gym's 34.5. I don't know why, I'm sorry.
So some of these projects have been on for like
Yes.
10 years.
Well, the middle
they
school
never
gym,
get
I think
done.
the middle school gym floor's been on for 8 years we've
Is-
talked
is-
about
What
it.
do we use the dance room?
Isn't that part of the?
That's part of the strength and conditioning rooms, the 3 rooms side by side.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a
Like,
beautiful
Why is it
floor.
twice as much as?
Well,
You
it
would think
says
the gym floor would be
refurbish,
more of a
not
priority.
refinish. So I'm guessing there's probably damage to the floor. Yeah.
So we can have more details ready for, it says refinish.
Oh, it does say refinish.
They both say refinish.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, it's a way smaller size. than-
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
But it may be a different type of floor too.
yeah.
I don't know what it's made out of.
But it's a lot smaller than the gym.
Yeah,
I just took his numbers out of budget, so if he made a mistake, we can.
Yeah, we'll
make
fix
sure
it.
Maybe he
that-
flipped
make sure
them.
it changes.
Maybe we can do more.
Yeah.
So that's where we're thinking anyway.
So do you have a motion that you? Or just,
A recommendation.
is it recommendation, a
Are
motion?
you ready to make one, or would you rather wait till you had more members and we start talking about the budget in
One more
total?
member?
Huh? Only one more member?
Oh, no, no, I guess, in other words, you say, discuss this at the main meeting and then do a motion.
Yeah, well,
At least have feedback from the rest of the committee members on what Cheryl has said.
I do hope that we will move forward with reclassing the
Something very
expenses
similar, yeah.
Yes.
so that we could at least free up some money in school choice to pay for the programs. We do not want, and it's not, I'm not sharing anymore, so let me see what I need to do that.
Yeah.
So the summer school will come out of that money, right?
Yes, yeah. We switched,
Summer school come out of what money?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
we switched,
Otherwise-
we saved that in there for this year because last year, if you remember, we knew we were anticipating a change in schedules. And so this year we've implemented the change in schedules, but we still have some kiddos that, again, we haven't been able to recoup all of it.
Now, who is the STEM program provided for?
The summer program?
Yeah.
So that was, Cheryl was talking about how we had to turn some people away. So we opened that up to families last year and we had more families than we could take with the amount of money that we had. But it's middle school. So we targeted the STEM program to middle school students.
Okay.
So these are the programs that we have under, we're currently reviewing to see if we want to keep on holding them on for one more year, or they're going to go. The expansion of pre-K, I don't think anybody on our school committee would say it's not a good idea to start teaching and learning in pre-kindergarten. The middle school reading program, I think our scores are going to come back and show us that, yeah, we still need some help in the middle school reading program. The technology integration program, the social emotional program, which is the social worker, which we finally did find one. The elementary BCBA and the behavior support interventionist, and Sheila, I'm sorry, Colleen could talk, is like how those all work with our current pattern. And then whether or not we do summer school, continue that, I don't know.
Keeping kids engaged is so important. And now that we've started it, they're going to be expecting it and they'll talk about it and kids will look forward to it
Well, and the
coming
sooner
up.
we know we're going to offer it, we feel secure in it, we can advertise it to families, because that's half of it, especially middle school students. Families want to know they have something to do for over the summer, so
love
they'll choose us because it's free. It was a free program versus, something else.
It's just hard getting them here if both
Right.
parents work or there's only
Yes.
one car in the family or whatever, it's hard to get.
So that's
kids
not
here.
serviced by pickup, right?
It was this summer.
Transportation this past summer. It's the first year we've done it in a long time, and it made a huge difference.
So this is what, this is what's on the table, is keeping these programs that we're currently using ESSER for and finding the funding for them without hitting our budget. And like we said, we've already made some decisions that some may not stay.
How many kids do you service in summer school?
Ooh, I think I shared those numbers with you last year, but we had, because we ran 3 programs. We did an elementary program, a middle school program, and a credit recovery program. I think we were well over 133 students for the summer. And some of them attended multiple things.
That's a need.
It definitely is.
That's definitely a need.
Yeah. And that's not including our ESY program for students with disabilities. And what we found by offering our own summer programs is it benefited our families who had students that came to the ESY program, because if you remember, many of our students might only come, say, from 9 to 12 or 9 to 11. This allowed them to stay a full day. So it was helpful to parents and kids that are added bonus of academics on top of what they were getting for their summer programming too.
Say that again for ESY. What did it stand for?
Extended school year.
Okay.
So in another PowerPoint slide, you actually say that, you allude to the fact that this will reduce assessments to the towns. Did say it somewhere, right?
I said if.
Could.
If we add any of these programs to our budget, it's going to increase assessment to towns. We're not getting any more Chapter 78.
Right.
Right. It's not going to lower them from where they're going to be, because there are a whole bunch of other expenses that are still going up, whether or not we have 2,000 kids or we have 2,100 kids. The expenses are still going up. So, yeah, this is not to say that assessments aren't going to be reduced. It's just if we put these programs into the budget, the assessments would be higher.
And the
Are
capital
you saying the programs will go for one more year? or we don't know how long?
At this point, we're going to look at them for, each year as they
Yeah.
come, because we're planning that we have enough money to go 3 years out
Yep.
in there, but we may not need them.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of hard to say what that social emotional impact really is. I mean, I guess we have a better climate. at the
I
high
thought there was a
school.
slide that said potentially
It said,
assessments, unless I was looking at one.
no, it
I'm
did.
thinking the capital expenses.
Yeah, I'm just looking for something.
Right there.
Quantify.
I think.
You know,
we
how
said it
people
was-
like
Yeah,
things quantified.
there
right?
it is there, Mark.
It will reduce costs, currently budgeted for 25, will reduce assessment impact on member communities.
If we were to take these projects that have to be done, some of these projects need to be done. We haven't done capital projects in a long
Right,
time.
right.
If we don't use rural school aid to do it, then they're going in a capital assessment to our towns. I'm not saying that their overall assessment is going to decrease because we're going to do this. It's just not going to increase because.
Eventually, they're going to go into the capital.
It's going to help the,
Eventually, they're going to go into the capital assessment. We're moving them into the capital assessment earlier than we normally would, right?
No, we're moving.
Well-
Into paying for them earlier than.
They're not going into capital assessment because we're going to use rural school aid to do the projects.
We would have 100% put some of those projects forward this year.
Right, and they
100%.
might have gotten shot down, too.
Right, exactly.
Which they have.
but at some
been
point, we
doing.
can't shut them down.
Which we have been doing for a
Right,
number of years,
right.
yes. The first thing that's out of the budget, okay, all capital projects are done.
Right, we always do.
All right.
I know.
And did Mark get a sneak peek at this?
Mark Brophy?
Sophie?
No.
He's done on your committee, why would I give him a sneak peek?
Because he's the chair.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, there must be some benefits to being the chair.
No one has seen this before you guys have seen it.
All right, no, this sounds very
Makes
reasonable.
sense,
At the same time, every year, it's, no, take the capital projects out, take them out, you just like, you wonder when this is ever gonna hit the fan,
Well, I don't think, we have a very high standard in what our buildings look like. And like I said, I walked down that hall from the gym to the cafeteria a lot. I never noticed how bad the floor was until you look at it, you're like, oh my God. So when parents come for parent night and they're standing outside the door for 20 minutes because they can't see the teacher and they start looking down, what the hell's wrong with the floor? I don't think they take care of this. And we don't want that to happen.
We also said the same thing about furniture. So typically when we visit school, kids are sitting at desks and tables and chairs. But the minute they step away from it, you're like, oh, wow. Edges are chewed up on tables and just,
Didn't we visit rooms in the high school that got all new tables and stuff?
We did. So we had some grant money last year for SEL mental health, and we used some of that money to outfit what we call collaborative learning spaces. And the idea was to give them more of a communal space so kids could work together.
Yeah.
So we did use some funding for that.
Quiet spaces. We also did like
Yeah.
social emotional rooms
Yeah.
where kids that just needed to be quiet with the lights off and whatever could sit comfortably and.
And needs are changing, so everything in education moves through a cycle, and our teachers are sort of clamoring for more tables versus independent student desks right now. So I think that's one of the requests that we've definitely been getting more of, that we want to accommodate because we feel it's helps them with the instruction that they.
Oh, they're doing a lot of groups.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Which we were at before COVID.
Right.
That's right.
And then we had to scramble and go
That's
get
right.
all of those chairs and everything out of the storage locker because we needed to have individual seats 6 feet apart. So we were putting all kinds of stuff that they probably shouldn't be sitting in.
Right.
But that's all we had. But now you see everybody, you see business managers, listen, anybody need this, anybody need this? We don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
And we have no place to store it anymore. You know what I mean? So.
No, and I think, it sounds silly, but when you're sitting in this wooden seat like those desks and the furniture we have are dated and it's not comfortable, and no wonder kids fidget and squirm and can't concentrate. Like, really, it's like the carpeting. They wear out. You need to replace the stuff.
So you weren't with us the second round of things, but when we were in OCAM, I said, well, those students are on wobble chairs. Like, what's a wobble chair? So the committee members got to see what kids are sitting in, because a wobble chair does that. They can't
Right.
sit on a hard wooden chair, so it's a little seat that actually moves, and they can still do their work, but they just aren't sitting straight in a chair. A lot of our schools have wobble chairs.
Yeah, we also, when we went to New Branch, we did see a lot of furniture stored, right? But when you ask about the furniture that's there, you find out it's not the right size for the furniture needs, that we currently have, so.
So if we could have on the recommended action for rural school aid, if we could have a few printouts of that available
Sure.
on Thursday.
And we'll
night.
put it into the drive ahead of time so people can look at it. But we'll put one in everybody's folder.
Now, what's happening with the building? That we were given.
So the building inspector.
I know you did, I'm just rehashing it in the head.
The building inspector is requiring us to consider it a building, even though Kevin said, well, the district we got it from said it was a carport. So we have to put a foundation in.
Right.
So we went out to bid, separated it to excavation and tree removal, because a couple trees have to come down, excavation, and then putting in the concrete floor and the foundation. And it came in at 104% over what we thought it should come in at. So we canceled both bids, and we're going to go out in late March, early April, and get on the beginning of people's to-do list instead of the end of it, because at the end of it, they must have had too much work to do. They put in an outrageous, Kevin says, and he knows, I don't know, outrageous price, concrete.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go out again.
Now I remember.
Which is better. We'll do it in the spring. It'll be better before, because we're going to put the thing back up.
Yeah.
So our team's going to put it up. Our team took it down. Our team's going to put it up. But that's where we are with that.
Gotcha.
So we'll go back out and do that.
Anything else?
But that's not, we can't use money from any of this for that.
I don't know. It depends on, I guess, what it comes in at. We could definitely say, okay, we're not going to do this and this because we're going to go.
Prioritize, yeah.
Yeah, but we were thinking that was going to come in somewhere around $50,000-$60,000, and it came out, I can't even remember, $120-something thousand for that project. It was more than twice what we thought it was going to be.
So budget-wise, what are we looking at for things next month, probably now?
Yeah, we don't want to sell it tonight probably, but maybe by Thursday or something, we could think about the next,
I mean, I'd like
the
that.
big budget, the real budget meeting, not the big budget meeting where everybody turns out.
I want to see if I can find where they said it was going to come out.
Have you had any insight into this year?
Yeah, chapter 70, the budget's going to go, the revenue source is going to go up by 1.38%. 1.38. So when the cost of living was over 10%, they capped chapter 70 at 4.5. So we had to make up the difference, right? All of our costs went up, but we only get 4.5%, which we got zero. Total, we got 4.5. Now we're at 1.38. First quarter of this year, it was up by 4.4. Now it's only up by 1.38. So they're taking the 1.38. So it's going to be very, very difficult revenue year.
So when do you project we might have our first budget meeting?
I'd like to see who told us when it was going to come out? It's not online. I thought it was the 19th of January. So I'd like to come out when the first aid numbers come out, because that would be helpful. But if it isn't, then we can just talk on the budget side, the expense side. But we'll be ready, because I'm almost there now.
All right, just let me know when you're ready and we'll come up with a date, just pick
I can have you pick a date on Thursday night.
Thursday. Okay, yeah, that's good. We'll talk about
I
it.
think it must have been in my email when they said it was going to come out. Is that Julie Kelly that said when it was going to come out, or the lady's name that the president?
Tracy Novak,
Yeah.
I don't think I saw anything from her, but I told you I don't get all her emails. Do you want to close the meeting, Mike?
Yeah, all this sounds pretty reasonable. We'll bring this, we'll
Bring this to the full board on Thursday night, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Meeting adjourned.